Well, I'm delighted with my next guest who's going to be joining us all the way from Canada. Someone I worked with for many years, dearly loved our time together. What was probably the golden time for broadcasting. Stu Lowe, hello to you, sir.
Hiya, Paul. Yeah, they were great times, weren't they, eh? Do you remember what nights you did? I think we split the week up, didn't we?
Well, I did Fridays and Saturdays, didn't I? Because you were doing the Cave. Then, of course, in the summertime, you were doing the Cave live on the radio as well.
That's right. And while we're speaking about the Cave, of course, I was talking to someone the other day about that, and I think that was pretty ahead of its time because, well, you know, live broadcast and the dancers were there. You couldn't repeat the track because you were playing to a disco, but you were also playing on the radio, you know. So, and we had to take commercial breaks. So it was new, you know, it was fairly new technology. I always used to say, yeah, but Radio 1, when they did an outside broadcast, Duran Duran would appear as well. You know what I mean? Like, that's where the 200,000 people came from.
It couldn't have been better for you because you were working twice, weren't you? You were working down there and you were working on the radio. It's fantastic.
I know. Well, there's another story about that. One of the managers said to me once, you get paid by Trust House Forte? And I said, yeah, I do. And he said, well, we pay you. That was a manager. I won't say his name. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, do you get paid twice? And I said, I do. Because I'm doing two jobs. I'm doing a disco and a live broadcast. Anyway.
How we've all got hearing still, by the way, from the Cave. Because, I mean, those speakers were all around the edges, weren't they? And it was just loud. But that's what we did. And everyone's still, you know, still here. I don't think we're all too deaf. We're okay, aren't we?
It was like sign language, wasn't it, when you wanted... One of the reasons for that, though, is because the speakers were at the very outside. They weren't over the dance floor, right? They were round the disco, and they were concreted into the wall. And the very first track I played there was Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty. And it just was just awesome, you know what I mean? So anyway, and then when it got full, that dampened the sound a bit, you know.
And there was a quiet room, wasn't there, next door? A little bit of a quieter room in the Cave.
That's right, there was that was the Burger Bar.
Oh,
that's right. Oh, you can remember it anyway. Yeah, but if you wanted a conversation, you went into the other room.
Yes.
That's what happened.
Anyway, the reason I've got you here today is you're doing a little comeback, and we're parking the Cave bit for today because obviously the Palace Lido was another one of your massive gigs. I mean, that was ahead of its time as well, wasn't it, Stu? That place, the Palace Lido.
Yes, and I was headhunted from the Cave, funnily enough, by the late Paul Gaskell, really nice guy. But basically, the Palace had this idea, you see. So I go over to work for the Palace Group. I was in Whispers. I just want to run through the beginning of it. And then it was so ahead of its time because all the directors, David Knight, Jimmy Gillespie, all of them, we all went up to Scotland to look at these big high-tech discotheques that were all the rage at the time, you know. So up there looking at them, and then the plan, without anybody knowing, of course, was that's what they were going to do with the Lido. So long story short, when they finished it, I can remember the night I went in the Lido and I was resident DJ, and I had a chill up my back. It was absolutely unbelievable for the Isle. I'm not saying for the Isle of Man, but for anywhere. It was on par with anything in the UK, you know, and it was like it was living again from the old days of, I don't know, the Rolling Stones and all the big bands that were on. There was tons of great bands. I still look now and go, God, the Moody Blues appeared at the Lido. Anyway, but the main thing then, I have to say, and it came to an end really, was they had a performance rig, right? So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but in the ceiling, in the dome, because this was a huge place, and to be honest, I don't think youngsters today realise that it wasn't just our club. It was huge. It had 9 bars. It held what, 6,000 people.
Was it 6,000? Oh right, because I know it was a lot.
But that was it trimmed down because I think the Rolling Stones brought more people to the Lido than that. You know what I mean? But anyway, you had this
big gantry. You had a big gantry that came down when.
That's right.
Yes. Well, the lights were on it.
And that was its golden. You know, you start the laser show. The lights came down from the ceiling. Everyone mouths dropped. There was 2, I think they were like 20, I'm going to say 20 feet, but they could have been a bit bigger than that. There was a screen either side of the stage that were massive. And the videos that we had, because in those days, Duran Duran were putting the music out mainly as a video, because they were a video band. And we'd play the music, and Jimmy Hughes would put the on the big screen. So where I'm going with it was pretty awesome.
And didn't the laser use lots of water? Because I mean, those days the lasers ran hot, didn't they? And it was a major industrial sort of bit of a kit, I think.
Yeah, oh no, it was fantastic as well. And then it was like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, hit me with your laser beam, and Jimmy Hughes would be like, jing jing, there'd be this laser going all over the place, and everyone's mouths would be dropping. But it would, I mean, and I would say, and I talked to Paul Moulton about it a while back, and he said, well, yeah, but that would be that like New Year's Eve, at the Lido, and I go, no. Most of the nights at the Lido when we did them, Friday and Saturday, were packed. You know what I mean? Like other little places didn't have a chance because 9 bars, balcony, so many people, and the sound system was unbelievable. It just was.
It's incredible to think the whole thing came down and hardly a word was said at the time. I don't think it would happen if that was the case now. But with all this reminiscing, the people do these reunion nights and those sort of remember the 80s or whatever. And you're involved in one. That's why I thought we'd dial you up today, because there's one coming up at the Villa, isn't it? You're going to be joining virtually, I think.
I'm going to be a virtual link. Yeah, they're going to make me a bit younger and slimmer. Photoshop, maybe Photoshop. I don't know if you can on video, but yeah, it just looked fun. Because I look at these revival nights and I think, wow, I was there. And I read something the other day, and I always knew that it won Disco Mirror Disco of the Year for the whole UK, but I could never remember what year it was in. And I was like resident DJ, and they flew in a helicopter from Liverpool, and all the directors were in the VIP bar and everything. But it was 1987, and Jimmy Gillespie posted on the Lido Facebook a picture of the plaque, and it was Record Mirror Disco of the Year 1987. Wow. That was the whole of the UK.
That is pretty impressive.
And can I just say as well, I remember talking to the guy from the Record Mirror, and I said, yeah, but we were always going to win it because we were packed solid, 5,000-6,000. I mean, I forget how many were in it. And I said, but because we were so big and we had the atmosphere, surely we were always going to win it. And he said, no. He said it was the people. It was doing Radio Gaga, madness in those days. And he said it was just the involvement with the crowd, like it was. And we won it, and we were up against some major competition. I'm trying to remember the one in Warrington. There was a big high tech in Warrington. The Hippodrome in London was probably going at the time,
It's funny to think that you were doing the big nights. And what did I get? I got the afternoon with the children, the kids version. I don't know if you knew I did that, but on Saturday mornings I finished at the radio station about midday, then rushed down to the Lido, and it was only for the under 18s to have their moment. That was my that was
your bit, wasn't
thing,
it?
Yeah. Oh well.
And the other thing too, I remember about the Lido TT week. Somebody once told me that they sold 150,000 cans of lager. That's without the other drinks in a TT week. And they had, but I do remember they had 3 skips parked outside, and they flattened the cans and put them in that. But
and also you had a pitcher, a 4-pint pitchers in one of the bars, wasn't it?
That's right, the 5-pint jug bar.
5 pints.
Yeah, and they just they wouldn't buy a can. Give me a 5. They'd be like, it was just fantastic. They were just great years.
I remember seeing hot chocolate there and getting to the loos, even fantastic toilets down below. But people couldn't even wait to get there. I mean, it was just another thing. But then, that's just the way it was. And it's such an era. I mean, a lot of people watching this have no idea probably how amazing the Isle of Man was for things out. The cave and the Lido. And you said Whispers. I mean, that's another story. So we should talk about that another time. Gosh, all these things that have been and gone. And the Hawaiian bar. How far back did it go?
That was another one, wasn't it? Eh?
I was underage then, I think. I shouldn't talk about that one.
Quick story about a TT week at the Lido. Phil Mellor had got killed in the races. I was on stage with Charlie Williams, and I'll make the story quick, but Charlie Williams said, I want to do 2-minute silence for Phil Mellor. And we walked, I said, wow. And it was packed. And it was so, it was just like World War III. But there was no animosity. They were having a good time. These bikers, they were great, because as long as you played their music, and they were all good. And they had a great respect for speed. So where I'm going with it, Charlie said, I want to do 2-minute silence. We both walked out onto the stage. The lights went up. And I got their attention first, and I said, we just want to do, Charlie's got something to say. Charlie Williams walked up to the microphone, asked them for 2 minutes silence, and I swear to God, you could hear the trim phone going in the back office, like all thousands of bikers. There was no noise whatsoever. At the end of the 2 minutes, he looked at his watch and said, "Thank you." And World War III broke out again. It was, I still get a chill up my back thinking about it. But he had a great respect for speed. You know what I mean? He was he was a god to them. Anyway.
You have so many memories. We must do more of these flashbacks. Before we go, though, just give it a plug. That you got a date for this event that is on at the Villa?
Virtually, Saturday, November the 14th, from 8 till 1.
Okay, either live by satellite or taped, because you're 7 hours adrift, I think, anyway, aren't you? So you'll be there anyway.
Yeah, you're 7 hours ahead, yeah. But we always have a good chat, don't we? Whenever we hook up, it's always good to talk about it.
Where the year's gone to, that's the thing.
Way.
It's just incredible, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Thank you, Stu. We'll talk to you again sometime soon.
Thank you. Great. All the best. Look after yourself. Stay safe.